Well, happy Sunday morning, everybody. Welcome to the broadcast this morning. Good to have you here on a Sunday morning. Down here in Louisiana, I thought it was going to be a lot warmer. I think the low temperature last night was like 15 degrees. I might as well be in Minnesota for the climate. So it's a little cool here this morning, a little brisk and just having my coffee, and I hope you are too. So, good morning. And I'm going to take these off for a second so I can see up close a little better. I need the bifocals for reading, I need the upper portion for seeing distance. But when I'm in this, it's sometimes hard to read the chat. So, anyway, there we go. You forgot to buy some again. What, coffee, field guy? So, good morning, everyone. Matt Finn, good to see you, Master Finn. Brother in arms, taking her out this morning. So it's good to see you. Oh, and by the way, speaking of taking her out, I had a different connotation for that. Uh, I want to say it made me think of going out on a date, but of course it's Valentine's Day, and so I want to wish you all a very happy Valentine's Day. And if my wife were here with me and on the broadcast with me, I'd be wishing her the same thing. And so if my wife, Raini, is out there and you're listening to the show, I'll be talking to you a little later. I don't like to call her before 9 a.m. Because sometimes she gets a chance to sleep in a little bit on Sunday mornings. So I'll talk to her a little later this morning. And um, you can't take it out unless you can put it in. Oh, field guy, that's a very erroneous philosophy nowadays. Don't know what you're thinking. You must not get out much. So anyway, I'm messing with my hair because I can see it on the camera, and it's I'm still not quite all together this morning as far as grooming and looking like I'm gonna be going out doing something and meeting the public or something. So we're just sitting in this morning. It's cold. I think it's cold everywhere this morning. Stream yards, it's easy. I'll have to take a look at that, field guy. I was looking into Zoom again, which is what we always did on Rocky's show. We always used Zoom, and that's going to be, it costs about $150 a year to have Zoom, but Zoom will allow me to bring guests in. And I was just looking into it, but now I'm not on my home computer, so I got to set up everything where I am here in Louisiana. And the daunting task of going back through and just resetting all of everything that needs to be done is something that has held me up a bit because I feel like I don't have time to just sit down and do that. And 20 free hours a month. That's kind of cool. That'd last me a week. So I am looking at Zoom though, folks. And I was looking at it even a little earlier this morning to see if we could get that hooked up. But then I've got to run this program through a different program that attaches Zoom, and then I can run it to the stream. And I don't want to experiment with that before I'm doing a show. I'm gonna have to do it sometime during the week. So, hey, good morning, Sean Bowden. Good to see you. United Weather Network. It's cold as hell in the South. Ain't that true? It is cold as hell in the South. I just saw a friend of mine from Texas this morning getting online and talking really to nobody, but pleading for the weather to please get above freezing in Texas. You don't think of Texas as being that cold, although I know it gets cold. It's just like, what is my hair is just standing up on end. Sorry, folks. And it catches my eye every now and then on the camera, and it drives me nuts. But I always knew it was cold in Texas. It could get colder, like it gets cold in the desert at night. You don't think of it being cold in the desert at night, but yeah, it's cold down here right now. Steve Clark, -17 with the wind chill. Yeah, somebody look up the weather for New Richmond, Wisconsin. New Richmond, 2 words, Wisconsin. See what it's doing there for weather this morning. So my wife had a third car go out on her yesterday. It's just weird. I think it's the cold that affects the engines. because our van was down, and then the newer car, the Flex, that went down. It's got a cylinder is not firing, and that's probably because of the cold and clogged up stuff in the engine. And then her mom came to babysit so she could go do her massages yesterday. And she used her mom's car. Her mom's car wouldn't start at 10 o'clock last night. Well, 9:30 last night when she was done with her final massage. And it's over at the hotel. That's why she has to work so late. It's at the Water Street Inn where we had the ghost experience. And so there she sat out there for a while in the cold. And she went back into the hotel and talked to the staff and stuff. But my stepfather-in-law, I guess you call him, he's Raini's stepdad. He's a mechanic. He came out and he fixed it and got it going. So she got that back to the house. But the cars are that's 3 cars in 2 days down from the cold. And so maybe if we didn't have our garage so full of stuff, we could park a car in the garage and it would keep it. The garage isn't heated, but it's connected to the heated house. So, it would be, at least 40 degrees in the garage when it's below zero. So, I see Beth Ann Kirkman just commented on my Facebook post. I don't know which post, but I don't know if you're here, Beth, but welcome this morning. And Steph Quero Queen, welcome this morning, Steph. Glad to have you here. And Audrey, it's 50 in Huntington Beach, and that's cold. I get it now. I get it when all the Southerners say, "Ooh, it went down to 60 degrees today and I'm freezing. I had to pull out my parka." And that's when we're in the middle of winter and it's 20 below zero. And then, but now I get it. We're down here in Louisiana where it's supposed to be warm. As a matter of fact, 3 days ago, I think it was earlier in this week, it was 76 degrees. And it's a bit humid down here, more humid, the Gulf humidity. And so it was a warm day. I had put on a heavier shirt, and we were outside and walking, visiting clients. And I thought, well, I put on the wrong shirt. And then somebody said in the middle of that, they said, well, you know what the forecast is? The forecast is that it's going to be minus 12 degrees by Monday. And I think that's the overnight low, because I am hearing it's supposed to get up to 30 to 32 on Monday. So it's cold everywhere. Mother Nature. Yeah, that's a good way to put it, field guy. And Doug Stack, yeah, we're still sitting at 30 with a wind chill of 19. And Doug's about an hour, I think, north of me. So, yeah, it's around 40 where Scott Allen is. So it's cold everywhere. It's a cold winter. Thanks to global warming. Just had to throw that in there. Of course, the global warming advocates will say, well, that's because of, it's colder because of getting blah, 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 whatever. So have I seen Sneaks outside yet? SNEAUX with a capital S. I have no idea what that is, Doug. Tell us about it. Yeah, nothing likes that cold. That's very true, Matt Finn. And Steve Clark, I don't know if I said good morning to you yet, but good morning. There you are. It's good to see you. And yeah, the Weather Channel says it's broken since there's no such thing as 19 below zero. Oh, yeah, maybe not down here in Louisiana as a regular thing. But man, we've had, I remember, and I've talked about this before on this show, back when I was in my seminary days, and I was a youth pastor back in the early 1980s up in Minneapolis. We'd have Sunday morning services and Sunday evening services at the church. And those who came out for the Sunday evening, we had a membership of about 350, 400 people that would come every morning and or every Sunday morning. And we would fill out an auditorium that was made for 600, I think. But all that saying, on Sunday evening, most people came back for Sunday evening church. It was a Baptist thing to do. And we had, with the wind chill, it was 72 72 below zero in Minneapolis. We're not talking the Arctic. We're talking Minneapolis. 72 below zero. And that was the same winter we had like 7 and 8 foot snow drifts blocking people's car garages and stuff like that. And I remember the pastor saying, "Hey, we're open here for church." And there was about a dozen people that had showed up that night. And he said, "I want to thank you for being stalwart." He said, "We're just going to have a casual little service here tonight." And it was, and so it was kind of nice. But 72 below zero, that's friggin' cold. And that doesn't work much for me. And hey, Kevin Miller, it's minus 19 in New Richmond right now. Thank you, sir. And that's too cold. Roger Rabbit, good to see you. And who else we got in here this morning? We can say good morning to. I think I said hey to Audrey. And yeah, so let's move on. Got a bunch of you in here. So welcome. This is all preamble stuff. Welcome to the show. And this is our very casual Sunday morning show for those of you who may be listening or watching new this morning. This is what we do on Sundays. And we just started coming in, I think about a year ago. We had to start coming in around 9 a.m. And I wasn't even going to make it a regular thing. I just said, let's do this on, look at that wild hair just sticking out there. Here. There you go. That'll work now. So we started it just for the fun of it. And it was going to be not a regular thing. And then Raini coming on was going to be, it was kind of a special deal getting Raini on. And for me, I loved having her on. But then it became pretty much a regular thing. It was Sunday morning with Scotty and Raini. And of course, it's very difficult to do that right now where I am because of the distance. So I've been saying for months, I'm going to get this done. I've got to probably just get Zoom so I can bring Raini in live on Sunday mornings and run it through my OBS and broadcast out to YouTube. So we'll get that accomplished here, hopefully this week. And hey, Macabre, how you doing? Sterling. For those of you who don't know, that's Sterling. Good to have you here, brother. Good to see you. And Field Guy OBS it's a little complicated to set up, but once you get it set up, it's pretty good. Now I haven't used OBS all week. There is a delay that runs through OBS. I could broadcast my show through OBS on a regular weeknight, and but I don't. And and that would allow me to have the ticker at the bottom and all my logos and stuff. That's all set up in OBS. That's where I record the show. So if you ever see my show and it's got all the logos all over it and the moving ticker at the bottom, you'll know it's a pre-recorded show. So now pre-recorded, people kind of like, I don't know if I like pre-recorded. It's the same damn thing. I just do it a few hours earlier sometimes. And the only reason I pre-record the show when I do is so I can also record the audio for Odyssey Radio. One of these days, I'll have a full studio set up. And I keep saying one of these days, I just haven't done it yet. I have to hunker down and get all the tech set up so I can broadcast live to Odyssey and also live to the stream. So we'll see how that goes. Sneak Snow, Geeks Go Fo, says Doug. Sneak, Snow. Oh, Snow with the silent X, not Sneaks. Jeez. So Snow, S-N-E-A-U-S. No, I haven't seen the snow yet this morning. So I'm not saying it isn't snowing down here in Louisiana, a few miles from the Gulf Coast, but I haven't been outside to see it yet. So I suppose the E-A-U-X just makes it French. So get your coffee, folks. So if my wife Raini is out there listening, if you're listening in, come on into the chat room, say hi. I'd like to say hi to you live. And I want to say in front of the whole world listening that I love you and I miss you and happy Valentine's Day. I wish I was there. And wish we could get um uh ah we will get in the spring. I'll be back home. So pending God willing and pending disaster, I'll be back home in the late spring, probably early summer. But I'll get back there for a visit. And so you and I will talk later today, Rainy, if you're out there and you can hear my voice. She doesn't always listen, though. She hears me talk all day, every day. Many times she hears me when I'm recording a show or when I'm doing a show live. And so she doesn't always tune in to come into the chat room. But Sunday mornings is kind of our show together. So I'm kind of sad that she can't make it in because of my lack of being set up with a proper studio down here yet. So, and as you can see, I'm still in the garage of the RV. Well, that's where I'll always be. I don't know. I might get a piece of black velvet to hang behind me, so it just soaks it up, and you just get a black background. We'll see. So that's stuff you're not supposed to talk about on the radio. But this isn't a regular show either. I like to let you know what's going on. If I have tech problems, I let you know. If there's issues, I don't like to just cover it up. That's hopefully part of you being able to be here, and we all talk together, and we're all pretty close on the show. So there you go. Blah 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 blah. Trying to end that topic. But I want to talk about a little bit, and I want to get your take on things. On if I asked you right now, and I'm only asking this because it's Valentine's Day, or as Mr. T would say, Valentine's Day. So because it's Valentine's Day, the day when we have chosen somewhere in somebody's great wisdom to make it a national holiday. It's not really a holiday, it's an observed day. Um, we have Valentine's Day. You don't get off school or banks don't close on Valentine's Day. It's not a federal holiday. You still get your mail on Valentine's Day. So um, I was thinking, yeah, there was a massacre in Chicago on Valentine's Day. When was that? That was an Al Capone era thing. So I can't remember who did the. Yeah, today is Valentine's Day, Sean Bowden. Didn't you get your loved one a Valentine? So 92 years ago, February 14th, 1929, there it is. That was the Valentine's Day Massacre. So today, being Valentine's Day, I wanted to ask you all a very cliche question, but a very poignant and a real question. It's three words. What is love? You guys who are in the chat room, tell me what love is. What is love? What does loving somebody mean? What does for you? I want to know. This is still part of the three-word question. What does loving somebody mean? What does it mean for you to feel loved? Field guy says, I have no idea. No damn idea. Well, let me ask you the question, Field, and everybody. If you don't know what love is, what do you feel inside when you feel that somebody loves you? When you are loved, what does that feel like to you? Tell me. I'm going to take a sip of coffee. Complete unselfishness, says Macabre. It's so many things, says Steph. Steph, give me a couple of things. Give me one thing. What's love? Because I don't feel much, to be honest, says Field Guy. Doug says love is 9 inches on the third Thursday of the month. Is that a regularly scheduled thing, Doug? Matt Finn says when you tolerate someone's crap while not being able to live without them. Man, ain't that the truth? I think Rainey and I came to that realization about each other a long time ago. You know, we have the fuck offs and the I hate yous and the all of those things have happened in our relationship. Um, but we're still here. You know, it's love is that's a good point, man. A really good point. When you tolerate, when you're there, uh, and what makes it something that is a good thing? What is the if we took religion out of the picture? What is the thing that makes people stay together that love each other? Is it because love is a natural thing and that keeps us together? It binds us? Because I've heard many times, oh, love isn't enough to keep you together. And I think those are the cynics who've had it with love and are feel that they're failures at it. Oh, you need more than love, you know. Well, yeah, you need money to pay the bills and you need stuff like that. There's all kinds of, it's, a couple of you said, Steph said, it's a lot of different things. So it's different for everyone, says Beth. So what is the thing that keeps us together? What is the, if we were to say it is a good thing for couples and parents to stay together, is there a moral compass behind that? And what is the moral compass? What's the source of the moral compass that keeps people together? That's a different thing than trying to define love itself, I realize, but it's in the conversation. Why do we tolerate someone else? Why do we stay when we could go? Why are we concerned about what we do to other people's feelings, how we hurt them or care for them or love them? Matt says, I see love as more of a universal force that binds us than just a feeling. See, folks, if you're not here in the chat room and you're just listening, you're missing a lot of wisdom that goes on in the chat room. Doug says, love is like gorilla glue, so good it sticks to the idiot's head. There you go. Probably, and I would say maybe sex has a part in it, and shrugs, says the field guy. I think sex can be a part of love. Matter of fact, that's one of the topics I wanted to hit today. We talk about this. What is love? And then what is the use of sex? Is it a natural thing? Is it a need? Is it a desire? Is it a mixture of need and desire? Is it driven solely by love? Sexual relations? Is it a spiritual thing? So Steph says it feels like home, safe, comfortable. It's wild, it's in all directions. And it's anger that turns to happiness. It's passion. It's an undescribable passion. It's being in the moment. Yeah, I can see that, Steph, and I can understand that. That's a really good way to put it. And taking that moment and always remembering it and keeping it with you. That's what Steph says. Is it work to love somebody? Is love a natural feeling, or is it, or I have always said this, that love is an emotion. Love is an emotion that can come or go. It rises. Well, let me take that back. It wasn't love. It was the lighter part of love. Relationships. Love comes and goes. It seems. Oh, I'm not in love with you anymore. Someone will say. So I'm divorcing you or I'm leaving you. I'm not in love with you anymore. That's in love. That's where I was going. There's love and there's in love. When you love somebody, do you say, I don't love you anymore? Can you fall out of love and still love somebody? Yeah, I think so. Um, you can fall out of love. There's a difference between loving someone, and a difference between being in love with someone. In love is that it's that roller coaster. In love, out of love, in love, out of love, in love, out of love. You can be in love with a man can be in love with a woman, and then the first morning she wakes up without her makeup on and a rose in her teeth, and perhaps even having her period. All of those things kind of wrapped up together. If love were just being in love with somebody, you can fall out of love pretty quick for the superficials. The troubles. I don't need the troubles, so I can back out of this. I don't like where you're going or what you're doing. I don't like this. I'm frustrated. I'm out. Those are in love, out of love moments. But when you love somebody, as Matt said earlier, you tolerate, you put up with those moments, unless somebody's being an absolute fool, and they're messing with your life and things like we've all seen that too. So there's lots of variables in there, but just trying to get down to the basics and the brass tacks over what is love versus what is not love. If somebody loves somebody, will they change themselves for the other person? That's a big question that's out there. You can't make somebody change for you, somebody will say. But the flip side of that is if somebody is doing something that is detrimental to the relationship, detrimental to love in the relationship, wouldn't you think because if they actually love the other person that they would do something about it? They would make the necessary changes. So, do you know why I'm down here in Louisiana? It's not because I wanted to come to Louisiana. No offense to my Louisiana friends. You know why? It's because I love my wife and my family. That's why I'm here. I enjoy moments while I'm down here. Now, I've only been here about a week to 10 days, but I can enjoy some moments. But my life is pretty focused down here on doing something that will benefit my wife and my family. And that's why I do this. This is a thing of I wouldn't do this if I didn't need to. So do you make changes in your life and your circumstances because you love somebody? Now, is this being down here in Louisiana? This isn't the ideal. There are other things I could probably have done. This just was an opportunity that came up, and I thought it would work well. So I do this out of love for my wife and my family. Um, Lake Charles Weather Center is going FB Live, huh? Facebook Live for Lake Charles. That's where I am, by the way, folks. Lake Charles, Louisiana. Yes, you change because, like I said Steph, I believe love is always evolving, just like people are always evolving. Exactly. There were times in my relationship with Raini where we thought, that's the end, we're done. If you guys remember a couple of years ago when I went down to Texas, this is the same fellow, by the way. We were trying to build a children's book publishing empire, and he wanted me to come down for a few weeks. He even offered us. He had a huge mini mansion down in outside of Dallas, and had a whole upstairs that wasn't being used. He said, "Just come on down." He says, "Bring the whole family down," and so on. But those times that we were not the move to Texas, not anything like that. It was the times that Rainey and I were in. We were almost done. There was a point where, she was like, "I don't want to be in this relationship anymore," and there were points where I go, "Yeah, this relationship doesn't want you anymore. See ya." We were both kind of like that. But as soon as we saw ourselves not using that as a weapon to try to manipulate the relationship, we talked about that a little bit this last week on the radio show. As soon as we stopped using that, you'd hurl out the the tool that you were using to try to get your way. Well, fine, fuck off. I don't want to be with you anymore. I want a divorce now. And as soon as the other person, while the other person's still fighting for it, that continues on until the other person stops and says, okay, let's draw up papers, get your lawyer, let's go. I'll talk to you when you're ready. You can call me. And then it immediately changes the game because you say, I'm not here to try to, I don't want to lose you in my life. I want you to do something the way I want you to do it. We try to force that sometimes. Steve said, I felt cared. I'm probably cared for, wanted, needy by her for the first time in my 39 years of life. There you go. Steve, feeling wanted by another person. That's the feeling I get when somebody loves me, when my wife loves me, when my wife wants to come up to me and put her arms around me, when my wife wants me to be there, when my wife misses me. It's all those things. Those are all those things you lump together to say, those are the things that make me feel loved. Sexual relations. Yeah, there's the visceral side of that. There's the fun side, you know, the fun, wild side of life with sex. But then there's the side of sex that says, I need that from this person. I need that closeness, that intimacy. And that means something. That shows me how much I love that person or how much that person loves me. I mean, because that's all there. And it's not just the act. You know, the act, you can go find the nearest lamppost with a hooker standing under it and get the act. I will confide in you something. There were many times, you know, I was a fairly active dude before I was married and when I was not married. And, there were lots of friends who became partners temporarily for the evening, things like that. You all know that there were sexual encounters and so on. I found that there were many times when I got into those situations that it was very difficult for me to want to the sexual acts in your head, but when it came down to actually getting there and doing that, I would find that it was not a I want to say the best way to put it. It was not a pleasing thing. It was not desirable. It was not even fun because I didn't care about the person. And I found for me, the sexual act has to be part of caring for somebody. Now, you may not be in love with that person, like love for a lifetime type of thing, but I had to care about that person. Uh, and this is what I'm talking about. Sex with somebody I didn't care about or have a friendship with or know very well and have some modicum of interest in that person was very different from meeting somebody at a bar and picking them up or hooking up and going to uh, you know to do the nasty, to uh, um, I'm trying to think of the words we used to use for that, for the vernacular, and so out of that game anymore. But the act of sex is something that is, yeah, Roger, it's less fulfilling. You can have sex with somebody, but it doesn't mean anything other than getting your rocks off or being fulfilled or having the sexual behaviors. Yeah, it feels good. Hell yeah. And sometimes it's with somebody that looks really good. And so you're really, we all know what sexual desire is. Um, so one night stands is our egos. Yeah, exactly, Steph. Um, Sometimes it's fun. Sometimes you're attracted to somebody and you see them across the bar and or wherever you are, and you talk for a half an hour and you go, let's go fuck. And that's really all it is. And those occasions for me were not as enjoyable because it's not somebody I cared about. And sometimes it was even unfulfilling because there were times I'm like, dude, female dude, I can't do this. I'm not into this. I got to go. And you can't look at that person because I don't care about you. But it was like, look, and I've been in those situations in my life. All honesty, all the cards on the table. I've been in those situations where I couldn't do that because it's like I really don't care about you. And but you say that and you're a dick for a guy or a woman. But especially once you've lured them to the bed, so to speak, and then you get there and you know what? It was fun getting here, but um, I don't know you and I don't care about you, and so it's not a thing. So the reason I bring that up, and I've spent so much time on that, is I did want to talk about what's love, what is sex spiritual. Uh, Once you know what love is, you can recognize it, you can pursue it. Love is it's an absolute force of nature, of who we are and what we are. And however much we may want to, we can't command, demand, or take away love. You get that? We can't command it. We can't demand it. We can't take it away any more than we can command the moon and the stars and the wind and the rain to come and go according to our whims and the way we feel. Feelings are one thing, love is another thing. We might have some limited ability to change the weather, but we do so at the risk of upsetting an ecological balance that we don't fully understand. And similarly, we can stage a seduction like I've just been talking about. You can seduce somebody, or you can mount a courtship with somebody. Courtship is an old word we don't use much anymore. You know what I think of if you want to see a good movie? For I don't know what you think of this movie, folks. Maybe you've seen it. I love, absolutely love The Quiet Man with John Wayne and Maureen O'Hara. And that's one of my favorite movies. That's one of the most romantic movies I think I've ever seen. And I'm not talking romantic from the 50 Shades of Grey, which is more sensual than romantic. I'm not talking about chick flicks, the ooh soft love type of stuff. That's not for me. But The Quiet Man, if you've never seen it, get it, buy it, find it on Netflix. I don't even know if it's findable on Netflix. I've never tried because I own the DVD. But it's John Wayne and Maureen O'Hara, and he's an American who was born in Ireland and became a boxer in America and retires from the ring and goes back to Ireland, the place he was born, and falls in love with the beautiful redhead and the fiery redhead. And the whole film, it's fun, it's romantic, it's um, you'd have to watch it to know what I mean. Um, Steph said, "See, I've never been into Valentine's Day. If I love you, I show you all year round, and not make a big deal." You know, that's the same way I am, Steph. That's the same way Rainy is. I will tell you this though: while we may do those things year round, every day, day in and day out, and we use that sometimes to say, "Well, I don't really do that. I don't observe that." It's kind of like Christmas and birthdays with Rainy and I. We do the same thing. It's like we buy stuff for each other all year round. Little things, trinkets, little things. Sometimes it's a big thing. Um, we get stuff for each other. We're always doing, hey, I got you this thing for your birthday, which is 4 months away, and I was going to put it away in a box and store, but I can't. I got to give it to you now. Then I got to get her something else on her birthday. But we both do that. We're constantly giving things to each other and taking things from each other. And at the same time, when it gets to that day, if you don't give your wife or your husband a card on Valentine's Day, or a remembrance that's special on the day, even though we say we do this every day, I don't really need to have the holiday or the birthday or the Valentine's Day. Yet, if we miss it, it's like, you didn't give me a card on Valentine's Day last week. you know, it's those things where we may practice those things all the time, but in practicing them all the time, that doesn't mean we ought to skip those days. And Steph, I'm not impugning you on anything. I'm just saying for myself, I still like to observe those days and remember them. It's like an anniversary. We're together all the time. Why do I need to celebrate an anniversary? Because it's a celebration. It's a reason to celebrate. It's a reason to do something. It's to recognize something. Valentine's Day, artificial holiday. But it's something that somebody started for some reason along the way. It was either a card company started it, or a chocolate company started, or the floral industry started it to increase sales one day in the toward the end of the first quarter of the new year, the winter months. Let's do this because it'll boost sales. Maybe that's why Valentine's Day was started. And so there's a lot of empathy out there, feelings for people. Boom, there it is. Everybody. So Matt Finn says, sassy, tricky. I missed something in there, Steph. I mean, it's a fun day. I use it as another excuse to buy myself something red or pink and sexy and say, I got this special for you. Yeah. And that gets us all back to the sexual thing. We're all sexual animals. We thrive off of sexuality. I don't like anonymous sexuality. Now, don't get me wrong. I had my moments of anonymous sexuality, which were just fine and great, and I'll remember them forever. And if I may be so bold as to be a little bit edgy here, there was one woman I met for the very first time. I'd never even seen her before on a New Year's Eve. And you know how I met her? She walked up at midnight when everybody's cheering and kissing each other and planted a big kiss on me. Now, I was 28 years old when that happened. 28 years old. That's 32 years ago for me. And I remember she had an athletic body, but she was smaller and slender and very short cropped blonde hair. And I remember she walked up to me and laid a big kiss on me. And then after that, we talked for a couple of minutes. She said, "I've seen you at the apartment and townhome complexes where we live." She said, "I've seen you around," and she said, "I always wanted to say hi." I said, "Well, hi." And she ended up inviting me over for dinner like a week later, and um, it was one of those evenings of mindless, I don't care about you sex. That's all it turned into. She cooked Cornish game hens, and if you don't mind my going here, it's almost like a bad sexual joke, but it was for a good sexual joke. Is we had sex like 5 or 6 times that night. I mean, it was just ongoing. And you know what happened after that? Um, in the morning, her standing naked at the door and me leaving, going, "Hey, that's a great night. Let's do it again sometime." And we'd always see each other and, "Hi, how you doing?" Call each other every now and then. Never happened again. And thank goodness, never. Now she was a little older than me too, if I remember. I was 28 and she was 38 or 39, something like that. So but just saying, "Hey, Rock and Rhonda, yeah, that was awesome." I'm bringing up the story as a point to be made, though, is that there are those times where we have somebody where we don't know them at all and don't care about them, don't really care to care about them, but there is the visceral, animalistic, the thing that's wired, hardwired into all of us, and that's wanting sexual activity. Now, was I looking for intimacy from her? Maybe that was in the back of my biological brain, but I wasn't looking for intimacy. I was looking for a fun time. And yet, as life goes on, like I look at my wife, Rainey. I like having a fun time with my wife, Rainey. I wish she could be here this morning, but again, for those of you who didn't hear it earlier, we're not technologically set up for that quite yet, where I am in Louisiana right now. But I love having a fun time with my wife. My wife raises my attention just by walking through the room. Um, I almost can't look at my wife without going, wow. They say the male has sexual thoughts on average every 9 seconds of his waking hours. And that's very true. Now, they're maybe not all together. They may all, some of those might get bunched up and you have your arcs and your lows and your spikes and so on throughout the day. But that's pretty much true. And like I say, my wife can walk through the room, or my wife can get up and feel like she's looking dumpy and frumpy and wearing her big old sweats and not having even washed her face yet or brushed her hair and all stuffed up in a braid or a bun or a whatever inside a hoodie and no makeup. She can walk into the room like that, and I'm like, yeah, baby, now. Bow, chicka, bow, bow. And, that goes through your head. But at the same time, uh, we crave that intimacy. Steve, I see some of the things you write about your wife who passed away. And the way you express it is you had an intimacy with her. And I'm not talking sexual here, that's your business. I'm talking the way you express the intimate love and affection you had for your wife is something that would be horribly missed if I didn't have it. If any of us didn't have it, and I can't imagine what you feel sometimes, the loneliness that might be there. Uh, yeah, the cold pushing us. First real extreme cold since my Gene passed away over 5 years ago. Yeah, hopefully this cold is just cyclical. Well, we know it is. But there it is. There's Steve right there. And Steph, you got a question for me. Go ahead and ask it. A guy question coming from a hot female. It's hard to say. Oh, you got a question for a guy. Okay. So not as if you're a guy. Go ahead and lay it on me. But there's a certain loneliness that has to set in when the intimacy isn't there. And sometimes intimacy doesn't have to be sexual at all. Intimacy is that stuff that you do on a regular basis. That stuff, if that other person was suddenly gone from your life, either by location or absence or temporary or death or whatever it might be, that that absence has to be stinging. Steph says, "What's your take on if you're married or in a committed relationship from a guy perspective?" Dot dot dot. Okay, that's the buildup. Yeah, Steve, I've heard that. We got another couple of weeks of this. So it's global warming on this flat Earth, and that's why it's cold," says Doug. So yeah, Steph, you formulate your question over there. So that's the point I'm getting at with this intimacy thing, with sexual thing, and so on. So you do things that are intimate together, and I would never want sex to be anything in my relationship. This is just me, but I would never want it to be a thing that was only superficial. Wham bam, thank you, ma'am, as they used to say 50 years ago. Or conversely, I would not want sex in a relationship, a loving relationship, to be just simply all intimacy and passion, where there's no raw fucking, if you will. I think a relationship that's healthy needs a balance of the two. Sometimes you want to go, hey, Rainy will sometimes be like, hey, just drop your pants. I just need it now. You know, not to be TMI with you, but we all know this stuff. We're adults. We all talk about this stuff, just not on air. We do that. There's times guys are sometimes better at that than women are, because of the way we're wired. Oh, you don't feel good tonight, Rainy? That's okay. Look, I'll give you don't feel like it? I'll give you a book you can read. I'll just do my thing. You know? That's the way we are sometimes. But I don't want to do that with just anybody. I do that with my wife, the person I love, the person I care about. So Steph says, "What's your take?" Oh, okay. You haven't gotten to the question yet. Okay, Steph. Matt says solar radiation affects the Earth far more than the green energy cash sponsored scientists state. Yeah, I agree with you, Matt. And Doug says, no, it's all carbon emissions and you should do something about it. Yeah, your carbon footprint, your green footprint. Dropping pants should be an Olympic event, says Field Guy. It's the cows and their methane. So, sexuality, which isn't the only part I was going to. Okay, let's see. Steph says, when your woman is out and talks to men harmlessly because they're considered friends or just talking in passing. Okay. I think I know where some of this is going. I got no problem with my wife talking to men. I got no what problem with my wife casually talking to men. I got no problem if there's even a little flirtation in there. As long as I trust her, she trusts me. It's not a big deal. And I hate to be cliche, but because I know she's coming home. Uh, you know, my wife wants to go take a long weekend, a momcation, she's calling it, with her massage partner, Kendra, who also needs a mom vacation. And they were talking about they were looking at flights and say, hey, we found flights for $98 down to Miami or down to Florida somewhere, round trip flights. And my response was, you know, my wife laying on a beach in a bikini where men are going to walk by or drinking at a bar where men are going to be hitting on her. My response was, hey, go do your thing. Go get a mom vacation. I wasn't saying go screw other people. I'm saying go have a mom vacation. Steph goes on, your woman is out, talks to men harmlessly because they're considered friends or just talking in passing. Does the thought from the woman speaking to go to, runs through his mind, I want to get her into bed? Well, absolutely. Of course it does, Steph. Um, Now, let me use a personal example of that. When I'm talking to a woman that is attractive and it's a friend of mine, um, does the thought ever go through my mind like every other guy in the world? Wow, I think I'd like to have sex with her. Yeah, the thought goes through your mind. It's the way we're wired. I don't know if women think the same. I know women think the same thing. My wife has said that. You know, it's most of them looking like The Rock. The Rock could take me anytime he wants me. He's my freebie. So, yeah, we look at, Steph says, does a man look at most women as I want to have sex with them? What makes a guy think that if the woman is faithful, thinks that if the woman is faithful? Um, I am faithful to my wife. My wife is faithful to me. There are women I know that are faithful to their husbands. But guys, we'll see a woman and we'll go, Even if it's somebody we know, I know the guy's my friend, and I look at his wife is hot, uh, or 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 attractive. Does the thought go through my head? Yeah. Does it do I let that thought control who I am? No. It's natural. Like for a guy, we are visually men are wired to be visually stimulated. That's why men like boobs and butts and legs and things like that. Women are like, I want him for his mind. Well, that isn't always true. My wife likes a good body, which I don't have anymore. Why I keep trying to get a better body. If I put it into high gear, I could have abs and all of that and make my wife go, wow, you're hot. Well, feel guy, to a sense, you're correct. God made guys horny. We're hired, or I'm sorry, wired to be that way. Why? I don't know. Is it to spread the seed throughout the world and populate the world, which is now overpopulated? Why aren't women the same way? What would happen if you had men and women that were both wired to be horny all the time? What would happen in this world? We're wired differently. Does that mean that there was a design to us? Or is it natural that we think it's just natural evolution that we think differently or are wired differently? That looks like design of some kind to me. Uh, I'm not helping. Sorry, Steph. Let me try to answer that more cogently. Um, I want to make sure I didn't miss any aspect of your question here. Hold on. I'm gonna scroll back just a little bit. Everything you talk to the same people. Let's see. I missed something before that. So, does a man look at most women as I want to have sex with them? What makes a guy think that if the woman is faithful, um, what makes a guy think that if the woman is faithful? Because I think it's not, Steph. It's not an active. Um, Boy, I want that woman to leave her husband or be unfaithful to her husband and have sex with me. That's not the thought. The natural wiring is we're attracted to that person viscerally. That person, uh, we look at a person like that and we go, wow, I would love to have sex with that one. I would love to see that woman naked and in my bed. That thought goes through our head. But then you know what happens? Immediately with that thought is the understanding of that's not mine to ask for. Um, should I even be thinking that way? Do very pure thinking people have those thoughts? Sure they do. It's what you act on and don't act on. It's what you pursue and don't pursue. It would be like, let's simplify the equation by an illustration. Let's say I'm trying to lose 40 pounds and get rid of fat and strengthen muscle, tone muscle. What do you eat when you do that? Leans, greens, nuts, and seeds. You exercise. Well, let's say if in the midst of that, you see a plate full of pastries or carbohydrates, the kinds of food that you just love, and it's the stuff that you've kind of pushed out of your equation because you're trying to reach and accomplish a certain goal, which is being in good shape, eating right, staying healthy. You see where I'm going with this? Does every pastry that passes in front of my eyes something I want to eat? Yeah, hell yeah. The natural desire is there. I want to eat that. Same thing for some women I see. Not every woman, but the desires are there. Those are natural. You can't close off nature. Can't turn off that spigot. And I think it's unhealthy to do so. But it would also be unhealthy for me to eat the pastry. Now, somebody might try to qualify that argument and say, well, sometimes eating a pastry is okay if you're on a specialized diet. Yeah, I get that. So the illustration isn't perfect. That's like saying, well, sometimes it's okay to have sex with someone else, right? So, and that's a question of what your relationship can withstand and what you as a couple want to do. That's not my business or anybody else's business. But back to Steph's basic question. Every time she says, but every time you talk to the same people, Steph, are you encountering somebody that now maybe you've said more here and I'm scrolled way up. You saying that there's like a male that you talk to, and every time you talk to them, they want to have sex with you, or they make it very known that they want to have sex with you. I do that with my wife, but I'm married to her. We can be talking on the phone, and she'll say something, and it triggers. So, if you truly know what your partner desires, he or she won't look anywhere else. That's very true, Rock and Rhonda. It's very true. Sex is it's a temporal thing, it's a visceral thing. If it's non-existent in your relationship, it can be rough on the relationship because that's a level of intimacy that people need. What about the person in a loving relationship that doesn't need sexual intimacy or has lost it through, I don't know, change in hormones, whatever it might be? Do you stop loving that person? Do you go out and find it somewhere else? Um, I think if you do that, and it's not something you and your partner have talked about, because boy, I'm getting on thin ground here because I'm not advocating anything. I'm just saying, if you're going to do that, it has to be something that both of you agree to, that both of you are comfortable with. At the same time, you'd have to ask yourself if then even being comfortable with and agreeing to it, is that good for my long-term loving, intimate relationship? So those are big questions. And Steph, I've kind of let that go through there. Steph says, let me post this to you. Do you feel that when a guy is talking to Raini, they all want to have sex with her? Okay, there's a poignant question. Do I think that almost every guy that talks to Raini wants to sleep with her? And I just saw your second post on that. I'll tell you this, knowing how a guy thinks and knowing how my wife looks, and my wife's got a great fun nature, an intelligent fun nature. But when guys talk to her, I think, yeah, there's a lot of guys, I think, when they're talking to my wife, they're looking at my wife going, I'd love to fuck the hell out of her. That's a guy. That's the way a guy thinks. I know there are people out there that would, in a heartbeat, guys in a heartbeat would fall into the sack with my wife if they were given the opportunity. And, but I don't sit and dwell on or think about, do I think that every man that talks to my wife wants to have sex with her? I think by nature, most men do. But wanting to have sex with her is different than having the natural propensity to look at a beautiful woman and for a man to think, ooh, sexual. It gets into that's there. But there are certain things we do as decent people where we say, well, I just don't let my brain go any further than that. That's natural and I don't take it anywhere. I have women, I'm faithful to my wife and I love my wife. And to answer that question, Steph, I'm a guy and there are women that I talk to, women I know, I look at them and go, man, would love to have sex with that person, but not as an active going concern. Not, I want to pursue that woman and have sex with her. But you look at somebody and you go, yeah. And to turn that off, what would that make us? We wouldn't be natural human beings anymore. That's part of our makeup. That's part of who we are. So, do I sometimes worry? Maybe there's a better question too, or an additional question, Steph, that you didn't ask. Do I worry about my wife having sex with other guys because they're constantly looking at her and wanting to have sex with her? Don't worry about it because I know my wife loves me. I love her. That's the kind of thing. Now, okay, I'm going to deal with something else here on this in a second. But I look at that and I say, my wife wouldn't do that. And if she really needed or wanted to do that with another man, she'd come to me and tell me, and she'd let me know because she's not the kind of person to dilly dally around. Now, does that mean she would never fall into the temptation? I've talked. My wife and I have talked about this. She massages people. She massages people in hotel rooms. She works at the Water Street Inn, and the guests at the inn can buy massages, and she goes up and does it. Sometimes it's couples massage. Sometimes it's a single people massage. Women, she massages women. She massages men. She massages men and women. And that's why her partner Kendra is there. They sometimes do a lot of couples stuff where Kendra will massage one person and Rainey will massage the other. So do you think it never goes through my head that while now massage is a very intimate thing, therapeutic massage is very intimate. Therapeutic massage can raise lots of emotions. She's had people break down and crying on the table because it releases, I don't know the chemicals, but it releases so much. But conversely, it has that same effect. She's been on massaging men where they're half asleep and they're massaging, they get a raging boner. And she's like, oop. She's also massaged men where they've wanted her to do more. And she leaves the massage. I asked her if I said, even before you knew me, I said, was there ever a time where that was desirable for you? And she said, never. She said, there was never. Now, I said, what if it was The Rock you were massaging? She said, well, maybe that. So, and just to tell an off-color story a little bit, I know I've mentioned this here before, but when Rainey and I weren't dating, we knew each other. We were hanging out. I went to her house for a little party. It was in the summer, and it was in the middle of the afternoon, 2, 3 o'clock in the summer. And she had while I had scotch and cookies on Thursday at my house that everybody came to. She had margarita Mondays, and on Mondays it was after festival weekends usually because we all worked festival. People come to her house and have margaritas, and she usually had 5 or 6 people at her house for that. And so it was me and her girlfriend, who I knew for many years, a girlfriend of hers, and she offered to give me a massage. And I know I told this story before, and I said, only if it's topless. Whoosh, her shirt came off, and I was like, well, okay. So I got a topless massage. We didn't do anything. I mean, there wasn't sexual activity, but there you go. That's because I think that way, and you're in the massage and you think that way. I couldn't get my mind off the fact that this gorgeous woman with gorgeous breasts was giving me a massage, topless. But I didn't do anything. I didn't act on that. The same with Rainey. If she's massaging somebody and has made that offer, we've talked and we've laughed about it. What if a guy asks you to give him a happy ending or have sex with him? And we've talked about it. She says, well, that would all depend on the price point. And there's some honesty in that, which is refreshing. What if a guy offered you $50? She goes, I wouldn't do it for $50. Okay, what's your limit? I would ask her. And we're laughing about this and talking about this. She said it would have to be if the guy wanted something like that, like a happy ending. She said it would have to be a minimum of $500. But then it's prostitution. And so we laugh about all this. We talk about this. There's a price tag to it sometimes. Are you willing to be mercenary with it if somebody paid you? Now, does that mean my wife is looking for something out of the relationship? No, that's a totally different topic, and it was meant to be funny between us. And she might even talk about that on the show. Um, so, see you, Steve. Stay warm. Uh, If you film it, it's not prostitution. Thanks, field guy. Yeah, then it's a business venture. So, uh, that a girl, 50 is way too low. I agree with you, Steph. So, all of these are factors. And the reason we can talk about these things, number one, we're all grown ups. Most of us have been in relationships of one kind or another, except for field guy. Here's to you, field guy. Um, and tax deductible. Yeah. Yeah. Making porn is tax deductible. And it actually is. If you wanted to start a business like that, you could have a business that way. I would never want my wife or I to be known as people who had a business doing porn films. Not that it couldn't be done. So it's not the reputation I want to have, and I wouldn't want her to have that reputation. I don't want that reputation. So yeah, 50 would be nuts. That's why she said not for 50. Said if a guy wanted to tip me $500, maybe I'd think about it. And she said, and and so on. I said, what about sex? What if he wanted sex with you? And of course, this is the way men and women talk. And she would have to be a lot more than $500. She said, unless we were on a lean week. She said, then I might take it. And we laugh about that. But that brings up a big question. Is sex, where have all the prohibitions and morality been put on sex? I think it's because we feel that if somebody in our relationship that we love is sexual with somebody else, that that's supposed to be something that's reserved for me alone. There are limitations to what you can give of yourself to somebody else. You can give your affection, your love, your friendship, and so on to friends and outside people. But do you strip down naked and say, you can take my body too? We're just friends. It's just a fun thing to do. If my wife came home and said, there's this fun thing I did. I had sex with somebody today. It was fun. I wanted it and it was good. He looked good. Doesn't mean anything. I still love you. I'm never leaving this relationship, but the sex was fun. What if I said that to my wife? What if I said, while I'm down here in Louisiana and we're away from each other for a few months, I met this woman and she's a friend and we had sex. It doesn't mean anything. Not leaving you. Not going to have even an affair, a prolonged affair. It's just a sex thing. It's natural. How do you think my wife would feel? She might say on the outside, well, "It's fine. That's good for you." But immediately, what's going on in her head? I'll bet you that would be paving the road to destruction of our family for either of us. Yeah, and Matt, that would have to be predetermined beforehand. And Rainey and I, before we met each other, and when we met each other, the last thing on your mind is I want to have sex with other people. So don't do it. You can't escape the grip of the Cajun women, says Doug. Thank you, Doug. That's good to know. So, Adam Cajun women, and it's the spice. So all of this is sexual talk, and I know we've lost a few people along the way. The numbers have gone down a bit for people who are watching the show. Is that because we're talking about sexual things? Or some people turned off by that? Some people it's distasteful. You don't talk about those things. Well, if we don't talk about those things, we don't learn about those things. So when I'm talking about love, love is bigger than we are. You can invite love, but you can't dictate how, when, where love expresses itself. You can choose to surrender to love or not, but in the end, love strikes like lightning. My love for Rainey struck like lightning. Now, I spent a good, when we started hanging out together, I'm talking sexually, and then she was at my house more nights of the week than she was at her own house. She owned her own house. but it evolved very quickly into us being a couple. But for that first from August to January, that stretch of months, I was so arm's length from her. I loved her in my heart, but I didn't want to have a relationship. I was so over being damaged in relationships that I was a dick. Um, I cheated on her, and she knew it. I um, didn't want to settle. Then I'd get mad about it when, so I don't want to settle down. I don't want to have that. I don't want to have marriage. I don't want a relation. I'm not going to be tied down again. But deep down inside, I was begging her, just don't leave. Don't leave. I'm being a dick, but don't leave. You have no reason to stay, but don't leave. And it was in January when I finally got down on my knees in front of her and said, I am so sorry. No, it was February. It was late January, early February. And I said, forgive me for the kind of dick I have been, for the kind of person I've been. I said, you have every right to not be here and go find something somewhere else. I said, but I'm going to let you know something. And by the way, this is when on the day she came to my house to pick up all her stuff because I didn't want her anymore. I don't want you. I don't want this. I don't want this anymore. This relationship bullshit. And she came over, and I remember she was wearing jeans and like a white men's shirt, is what I remember in my mind. And she looked absolutely beautiful. Um, and I know, and I'm gonna share something with you. That day she came over, I knew she was coming over to get her stuff. Okay, this is kind of an intimate story, but, and I don't think I've ever told this. A woman came over right about the same time Rainey arrived to come and get her stuff. A woman friend of mine, a friend who didn't want a relationship with me, but who had been sexual with me in the past. She stopped by, and gorgeous woman, older than I was. Was she older than me? No, we were about the same age. And I had my office in the breezeway, and she came over. And then Rainey arrived, if I remember right, just a few minutes later. But this other woman is sitting in my desk chair at my desk in the breezeway, with her feet up on my desk. And okay, if there are small ears, you can maybe take them out because I'm going to talk about something as if I want to handle it psychologically and in a very clean way, but at the same time have fun with it too. But uh, there was this woman sitting there at my desk and saying something to the tune of, I was driving over here and masturbating in my car, thinking about getting here. This is the kind of conversation. Now, Rainey happens to be in the house when this is happening, and we're kind of breaking things off, and Rainey's coming to get her stuff. And I there I was as a guy who has sexual thoughts just naturally like anybody else. I'm thinking, here's this woman who we could fuck our brains out all afternoon. Here is the other woman who is getting her stuff out of my house because I was pushing her away. And I don't know that there's a grand lesson to be learned here. It's just part of the story of Rainey and I. And I don't remember exactly what took place or how it took place, but I told the woman sitting at my desk that Uh, no, I didn't want to do anything, and I did. And because I wanted to talk with Rainey. And so this other woman finally left, and at least the way I remember it, I know nothing happened of a sexual nature, but and I don't remember quite well enough if Rainey left. I don't think she did before I got on my knees and told her I loved her. And I'd been pushing her away. Rainey might have a different version of this story. She might remember it differently, but she remembers the event. I know it's come up in our conversation once in a while. That has come up. Uh, yeah, Doug. No, and that's where my mind would go. As a sexually oriented human being, but that's not where it went at that moment. I knew I was very uncomfortable. Uh, Having that woman even being there because I wanted to talk to Rainey. And I don't remember Rainey leaving before I said these things to her. Because I think if she had, they may not have been ever said. But I told Rainey that I loved her and I wanted her in my life. And if she could put up with me, and it was very shortly after that was the I talked about the other day, the Valentine's Day of 2006. So we're talking 15 years ago. And I asked her if she'd like to go out, and it may have even come up that it was either Valentine's Day when this happened or a day before, something like that, because Rainey called me and said, "Would you like to go out? I got to go to my sister's gymnastic meet at her high school." She has a much younger sister, 10, 11 years younger. And she said, "You want to come with me?" And that's where Rainey, if you've seen the picture on my Facebook, I just posted again the other day. Rainey in the little brown sweater and standing in the doorway of my kitchen. That's how she came to my house for that. We went to the little gymnastics meet, and then Rainey stayed, and she hasn't left since. And so I bring this all up as a weird little story. And maybe some people go, "Oh, that's TMI. That's too much information. I don't want to hear that." But we have all been in these situations to one degree or another. And I say one degree or another. Some of us maybe have never experienced that. Some of us experienced more than that. But the difference that I found in my own life between wanting the visceral sexual versus wanting the person that I knew that lightning had struck, and I was denying it for several months there, and I wanted I did not want that person out of my life, and that was Rainey. And um it was the same thing when I proposed to her. And the proposal wasn't, I didn't have a big ring. Mhm. I just said, "I want you in my life. I want to marry you. I want to be with you." Um and even the marriage part to me wasn't the biggest factor. The biggest factor was I do not want to live my life without you in it permanently. As permanent as permanent can be. And so that's where that was put to bed. And for me, uh, we think alike. You can stay. Cheers. LOL. I'm not sure what I missed there. Beth, get out of my head. Rennie has a wonderful personality. I miss her today. I miss her today. I wish she could be here. And we talk sometimes at the weirdest times, you know? We do a lot of video chatting on the phones. And I talked to her last night when she was sitting in the car waiting for it to get fixed. And talked to her yesterday morning. She was laying in bed still. So she's, you know how people look when They take their camera and it's over their head, or you look at them, their head's back on their pillow and their face is all like, because they're laying on their pillow. We talk then. We talk when the kids are all around. We talk when the kids aren't around and all over. And we call it weird times. Just say hi. Thinking about you. And Beth, I just saw you say that. Thanks. I don't know, laugh about it. But Morgan Snow has Kahlua in her coffee this morning. That might be good. A little Irish cream might be good. And I miss my wife enough that it can make me cry at times when I think about it. But I don't wander around all day lost. I know that there are things I have to accomplish here. I'm here and I have distance between my wife and I, like I said earlier in the show. The distance is here because I love my wife, because I need to accomplish something that will better life for my wife. And that's why I'm here. So thank you, Sarah. She's a good person for me. I agree. Morgan misses her hubby. I guess I have to wait till we journey together in the afterworld. There it is. Rhonda says attraction is strange. How many of you look at the other and wonder what the hell do they see? I do that sometimes. Like, what the hell do you see in me, Raini? You know, because I'm 20 years older than Raini, I'm aging faster than she is. Well, we both age at the same rate, you know, on the scale of time. But Raini looks at 40 the way I looked at 40. I had a very youthful 40. And so does Rainy. I can see the changes. I can see the wrinkles. I can see where muscles aren't as tight as they used to be. You know, things like that. I see the differences in the body. And we both have certain kinds of health issues. Rainy's are different than mine. Mine are different than hers. Those have effects on our bodies and our minds. We get tired sometimes of not getting ahead the way we think we should be. Of not digging out of the financial hole the way we think we should. That frustrates us both. But it doesn't stop the love we have for each other. It can affect it at times because when you're frustrated because you can't pay for something that needs paying for, car breaks down and drains your account. Well, we're not unique Americans in that sense, Rainey and I. Those things affect the way you communicate to a certain degree, at least superficially. One thing I noticed is that my wife can be very frustrated about those things, but we still love each other. We can still change the conversation to other things. Um, so yeah, attraction's a strange thing. Absence makes the heart grow fonder, they say, says Matt. There's an additional line to that says, but that it can also familiarity breeds contempt. That's the one I was thinking of. Absence makes the heart grow fonder, but familiarity breeds contempt. Both are truisms, though not 100% true. They're generalizations. Um, yeah, Morgan, Rainey and I, we can do the same thing. I miss those with my wife since we had kids. The kids are all consuming. We still have not gotten to that point where we are able to, because we have two different parenting styles and two different things that we do. Being able to have children not interrupt us has been the biggest fight of our marriage. Every time I talk to my wife on the phone, Kids are in and out of either the office or the bedroom or the kitchen or the living room where Raini's sitting there constantly interrupting. I sometimes can't get a full cogent sentence out without a child interrupting us, trying to get a thought across. And she's the same way. And it becomes very frustrating. We are strict disciplinarians, but I guess not strict enough because my children push the boundaries all the time of that. So we used to talk an awful lot, Rainey and I. We don't get to have those long night conversations anymore because when the kids go to bed at 8:30, Rainey's done for the day. She is so worn out from them that she generally goes to bed at the same time they do. And the little one falls asleep in our bed. And so after 8 o'clock at night, me having any substantive conversation with my wife is almost non-existent. More recent year or two. But we try to find that time during the day. It's like I remember when the kids went back to school this school year, the first day they were back at school in September, Rainey and I went out. We ran out to the store to do something, or we ran out just to simply look for garage sales, which we like doing. And we got out of the car and we were walking up the sidewalk to get to the side of this house where the garage was, holding hands and walking. And it was a beautiful autumn morning, probably about 65 degrees. Sun was shining. It was about 9:30 in the morning. And we felt absolutely blissful. So we're holding hands and walking without kids hanging on us, running around, us having to govern what they were doing. So, Steph says, stream helped me pick out my outfit for today. Just a side note, I'm going to wear a pink camo thong in honor of Valentine's Day so we can play a game of hide and seek. But you got to find me first. See, Steph, because I'm a guy, where does my mind go on that? You tell me. You say something like that, where does my mind go? Does that mean I am actively seeking bad things that should not happen? No, it means it goes through your head. Steph in a pink camo thong. That goes through a guy's head. So, should we mandate that a woman can't say that to a man because it will tempt him? Well, isn't that what went on throughout all time? Women were always oppressed because men said you can't do that or wear that or say that or think that or express that because it tempts me. A man being tempted by his own natural thoughts caused oppression of women. How ridiculous is that? Hey, Jennifer Yeoman, good to see you. My yeoman hasn't been in here for a while. Just talking about you yesterday being my yeoman. We were looking at pictures of old Star Trek episodes, and I said to somebody, I've got a good friend of mine that I call Yeoman because of that actress. So hi, everyone. Happy Love Day. Just popped in to say hi before I go out. Much love. Great to see you, Jennifer. Matt Finn says it's fun to window shop. Perhaps imagine shop. Yeah, that's fun. Nothing wrong with that. But what do you do with then the verse? Start going biblical and religious. Supposedly, Jesus said, if a man even thinks in his heart, his private heart, about stooping the next door neighbor woman, he's committed adultery in his heart. This is what Jesus said. Now, he's making a point there that's different than you might think. He was talking about the sinful nature of mankind. And he was saying, if you even think it, you've committed sin in your heart. Therefore, there is a redeemer needed. So that was the point. I don't know if he actually ever said that or if it was added later by the same people who insisted Mary Magdalene was a prostitute in the church. Yeoman, hey, Captain. Always be your yeoman. There it is, folks. She'll always be my yeoman. Good to see you. Don't see you often enough. So, Rock and Rhonda says the power of the tease is unlimited. This is very true, Rhonda. And why do you think we tease each other sexually, men and women in general? Is it because we want to be unfaithful to our partners? Because we want to step out on them? Because we want to do something? No, it's because it's our drive. It's our nature. It's our nature to be stimulated. It's built into us. It's ingrained. Sometimes the tease is the temptation that makes you feel alive. So there you go. Sometimes, like I said, there are relationships that can withstand that and those that can't. There are couples who can do that outside of their marriage and some that can't. So getting way back to something we hit on over an hour ago was the drive is there. The natural thing is there. And it's empowering to see the head turn. Damn straight, Rock and Rhonda. I know what that power is like and what it feels like. You know, Raini is, she says, I don't turn heads anymore. I'm like, are you insane? Raini turns heads. And that's got to feel good when she notices it. There was this guy that was talking to me, blah, blah, blah. And so she knows it. She sees it. I'm sure she understands the power of her sensuality, her natural sensuality. And as guys, the older I get, the less heads I turn. When Rainey and I were very early in our relationship, and I still had dark hair and was still in much better shape, um, it was. It sounds braggadocious, but it was much easier to turn heads. The older you get, you got the extra fat roll now. You got white hair and more wrinkles and saggy skin. You're not a 36 in the waist anymore. You're a 40. Things like that. Those are things where you go, I don't turn as many heads as I used to. And when you do, you notice it. I don't get the smiles I used to get. I remember having clients. I'd go visit in an office building and step into a crowded elevator, and some gorgeous woman would look over at you just slyly enough and give the little smile and the look, and then it was over that quick. And you're like, "Whoa, I just made that woman smile. She did a double take." So, yeah, those things are great. And you're right, field guy. Rainy is hot. So it's empowering. You're right, Rock and Rhonda. It is. Makes you feel good. Our animalistic side of our humanity. Yep. Jennifer Roberts says she's sure her face will meet the snow at some point. All in fun. So, yeah, Rainy is your age, field guy. Yeah, Rainy turns 41 in a couple of months here. So, and then that gets to the other part of relationship. Rainy said the other day to me 2 days ago, she said, I'm 41 years. This was when the cars broke down because of the cold. She said, I'm 41 years old. I don't own my own house. My cars break down and I can't afford to fix them right away. Well, we can, but it drains what you have. And she said, I am a loser. That's another part of relationship that we deal with. I'm a loser because I'm nowhere in life. And that's separate from saying we're somewhere together. We make a go. We do the struggles together, and she's tired of the struggling. So am I. So we work harder. That's why I am here in Louisiana. It's part of our natural power that's been corrupted by guilt and a great deal by organized religion. You're absolutely right, Jennifer. Absolutely right. And so, we all, I know that, I know Rainey's not a loser. I know there's not, we know all this. I said, and the only thing I can do is, as her husband, is to say, I understand what you're feeling. I can't talk her out of feeling that way, but I can tell her, we'll get through this fine. We've been through stuff before. I said, this is a hiccup. We'll get through it. We'll be fine. Not without diminishing what she's saying. We'll make it. You're right, Doug. We're all in that same boat, but we'll raise that boat together this year, all of us. And although your pockets may be empty, you never poor when you're rich in character. I believe that. My wife has a stellar character. She's one of she has the highest integrity of many people, almost anybody I know. She's faithfully committed. Even at times she didn't want to be, she was. Remember when I said when we'd have those fights a couple of years ago when I was down in Texas, and that almost ended our relationship. Not going to Texas, the period of time we were in there. And right away after the threats of divorce and all of that, and I say, fine, file the papers, I'll sign them. See you. Hang up the phone. And the contact gets made again very shortly. Hey, I love you. And so that's what happens to us. Steph says it sucks because I'm so used to the struggle that I forget what it's like sometimes to enjoy. When there's no struggle, I look to create one unintentionally. We've talked about that in our own relationship. And there is a part of me that says, I look at myself, I look at, okay, let's pull out the stops. It might sound egotistical to some, and if it does, too bad, I'm sorry. But I look at myself sometimes and say, I was given a lot of talent in certain areas. I have artistic and creative talent. I have speaking talent. I have singing talent. I have writing talent. I have a lot of these things that I do that one would think, and I've thought myself, should put us financially in that high success category. But it hasn't. And so there are times I was laying in bed this morning really early, awake, and thinking, I wonder if I am cursed. Because I said, there's nothing. I said this to my son last night or yesterday afternoon. I said, there is nothing I have ever put my hand to in business to make something successful that has ever succeeded. So I have to keep moving forward to different things. And here I am at 60 years old, and some months still struggling to make current expense. And it's like, why is my life like that? What mistakes did I make 40 years ago or 30 years ago? And you think you're cursed, you know? Perhaps past life baggage, says Mac. And I've wondered about that. I've said rather flippantly and tongue in cheek, I must have been an evil feudal overlord that oppressed his tenants and had, prima nocta, took his tenants' wives to have sex with them and fathered many bastard children and oppressed and slapped people into slavery. I must have had a past life full of that, and it's coming back and slapping me now. This is the payoff. This is the reincarnate karma, reincarnation. So I've thought that. I believe the link I keep asking you about relates to this topic. Oh, the one from the last couple of days? I haven't had a chance to look at that yet, but I will, Matt. Today. I have a day off kind of. So I've wondered that. I've wondered, am I paying karmic debt for a past lives? I have been told I'm a very old soul by several people that are supposedly in the know in that field of knowing what kind of past lives you've had. And I say, yeah, well, what does that mean? What does that do to keep my family out of debt or to keep my head above the water? Nothing. Maybe that's the lesson that needs to be learned. Maybe it's all bullshit and it's all exactly what the Bible says. Who knows? I don't know. No, that's cool. That's cool, Matt. You can post anything you want. Yeah, we all wonder that, Steph. I know. And there are times where there are people maybe that aren't my listeners who have heard me say these things before, but there are people that look at me and think I'm on top of the heap. I have people approaching me in the last couple of years asking me to help invest in their company. Could you invest a couple of 100,000 in my company, help me get it off the ground? And I have to tell them, sadly, I got to tell you, I don't have $200,000 to invest in anybody's company. I said, I struggle just like everybody else. And I think part of it is we don't always look like we're struggling, you know? Oh, you groom yourself well, you wear decent clothes, you know how to match your colors. Um, your wife is pretty. You have great kids. This is the superficials that people see from the outside, the exteriors. What they don't know is the daily struggle to keep things going. And I thought maybe if we simplified our lives, did something different. Part of this is part of the grand master plan. We want to get that plot of land, that acreage. We want to put up a shipping container home because it costs about half the price of buying a house, and we can design it and make it the way we want it to be. We're looking at those things because we say there's got to be a way to simplify. My wife wants to have the property so she can put in gardens, and she wants to do a berry patch. I've mentioned before I wanted to do lavender. Um, and you can plant a few acres of lavender and have a pretty good turnaround at the end of the year. And you process it out of your own little. I picture in my head, maybe this is my visualization. If I did that, if I planted the lavender, I picture the processing building. It doesn't take much to process lavender, just a little building. And I thought I'm not going to do that in a shed or a. I want it to look nice. I want it to be a wooden, like a log cabin structure, small log cabin structure, and with a nice deck and decorations and landscaping, and people drive up. And this is the lavender. This is our lavender company. And we process the lavender and send it off and sell it, and you can make some decent money on it if you do it right. A small fortune can be made in lavender. Exactly, Roger. I looked at this a long time ago. Somebody I heard of that had planted 10 acres of. Now, this is back when I had the 40 acres. So this is 10 years ago, 11 years ago, and Rainey and I had the ranch. We had half of that property was old. You could still see it. It was old tilled ground. The other half was deep cut valley with a creek in the bottom and a forest in one corner that was encroaching off the larger forest off our land. But that tillable ground, I thought if I could take that 10 acres, one quarter of our property, and plant lavender, what I had seen back then in 2009, 2010, 2011, when I was looking into this stuff, you could plant 10 acres of lavender and yield about $400,000 a year. So we're looking into that. But this is why we want to have property. And I say, by the time, Rainy, we get what we want and we get settled, I'm going to be too old to enjoy it. I'm 60 now. I have certain little bits and pieces of struggle because of my age. Now, some of that is I'm out of shape too. Maybe if I was in shape in 60, it would be a totally different thing. But right now, I wear down quicker. Rainey's favorite line. You gonna make it? Yeah, I'm fine. I'm fine. So, as a 60-year-old man, I can't do things the way I could when I was 25. And if I did, on rare occasions, do things exactly as I was able to do them when I was 25, it just hurts more and it takes longer to recover. So, yeah, that's what you have kids for. So, I hope you're interested. Uh, Give it a listen. Words of wisdom by a fellow troubled soul who succumbed to depression. You're going, I'll listen to that, man. Now, I'm not a depressive type. My wife isn't a depressive type. My wife has anxieties. And those anxieties, some kind of bitch slap her around. And so my goal is to make my wife's life as anxiety free as possible. When she called me yesterday or 2 days ago, when both the cars broke down on Friday, just felt absolutely helpless. I'm 1,200 miles from home. My wife is almost in tears, feeling like a failure, and I could do nothing to help her. And other than talk, I made some phone calls. I called around trying to. She got things taken care of because she knows what she's doing. My wife is a very resourceful, handy person. If my wife needs a sofa moved, she'll pick it up and carry it, or drag it, or find a way to make it work with leverage before she calls somebody else to come and do it for her. Even me, I'll step out of my office someday and the whole living room is rearranged. I said, I'm here. She goes, I got this. She's that way in business too. She will call me and unload and stress relief, blowing steam, blowing emotion out. And yet she's the one who can turn around and take care of it before I get the chance. Oh yeah, we just got a call from your wife. Yeah, she's we're gonna work on that. Oh, okay. Well, I called, blah blah blah, the mechanic. So there you go. Polish or Polish, Polish or polish. So trying to live with Polish guilt. Yeah, there it is. I'm not Jewish, but my mom's stepfather is Jewish, and that whole side of the family was Jewish. So were raised with a bit of Jewish guilt sometimes, even though I'm Welsh and Scot with a wee bit of Scandinavian in there. We just recently found out. So, all of that to say, I've been talking about what's love. I started all this by asking you to define what love is. Love's inherently free. You can't buy it, you can't sell it, you can't trade it or barter for it. I'm talking love. I'm not talking sex. You can do all those things with. You can buy sex. You can't make someone love you, nor can you prevent somebody from loving you. I got to tell you something. Even my ex-wife, who was a horrid person, said to my son, it's his mom. We've been divorced for 20 years. And I said, I still love your mom in my heart. So I can't stand her, don't want to be around her, but I still have a love for her. There was a reason I married her. So you can't prevent love, and there's no amount of money that can purchase it. Love can't be imprisoned, it can't be legislated. Love isn't a substance, it's not a commodity, it's not even a marketable power source. Love has no territory, no boundaries, no borders, no quantifiable mass or energy output. We can buy sex partners. We can even buy marriage partners. Marriage is a matter for the law, for rules, for courts, for property rights. And in the past, the marriage price or the dowry, which I mentioned the movie The Quiet Man, you'll see there's a dowry of hers is all important to her and it affects their marriage. The dowry and price there, and Also in the present, alimony, the prenuptial agreements, make it clear that marriage is all about contracts. Why do we discuss things ahead of time? We need to have this. It's marriage contract. Sometimes it's just verbal. Why are there prenuptial agreements? Because people want down in writing what's going to happen when that marriage ends. Not if, but when. Marriage is a contract. But as we all know, marriages, whether arranged or not, pardon me, there's dog hair everywhere here from the dog. And I wonder why I find dog hair in my mouth. Because it gets all over everything else. I look down at my pants some nights when I'm taking my shoes off. There's clumps of white dog hair, just clumps of it caught in the folds in my pants. Anyway, we all know marriages, whether arranged or not, may have little to do with love. Sexual stimulation and gratification, which we talked about earlier. These are all the things I was going to talk about today because it's Valentine's Day. Whether by way of gratification by fingers or mouths or objects or fantasy play, whips and chains, or just plain intercourse. Those can certainly be bought and sold, can't they? Not to mention used to sell other things. I'll tell you something. If I were to dress my wife, have her dress in her most cleavage bearing shirt, which she has many, my wife used to just, by nature, every piece of clothing she had was something that showed off her cleavage. She still has all that. She just wears a scarf a lot now. It's cold, and it's cold out. But I could use my wife's body, her sexuality, her sensuality to sell things. You go look at my Etsy page and look at this, the Daughter of a Patriot shirt. That's my wife. I drew my wife for that. If I could put my wife in cleavage on advertisements for my books, I'd do it. You know, and being tasteful about it. Sex sells. Matt says the wife and I have a lot of fun together. That's all I'll say about that. That's good. I'm glad. Happy for you, Matt. So you're saying you could be a pimp? I could. I could be a pimp, Steph. I remember the Eddie Murphy Saturday Night Live bit from years ago. Back, I think it was before Eddie Murphy was even doing his movies. Back when he was doing "I'm Gumby, damn it," and all of those bits. I'm buckwheat. And he had one, Velvet Jones. Does anybody here old enough to remember Eddie Murphy doing Velvet Jones on Saturday Night Live? Had to be in the early 80s, mid 80s, somewhere in there. And he came in and he had the wig of the black pressed hair, like from the 50s. And wearing a big purple suit or something, like a velvet suit with a big collar coming out and jewelry. And says, "My name is Velvet Jones." And he'd get on and he says, and he's selling his books or his videos. And he said, he's selling his book on how to be a hoe. And he said, "Ladies, how would you like to learn how to make $1,500 extra dollars every week and never leave the comforts of your own bed? Well, buy my book, How to Be a Hoe. I want to be a hoe." Something like that. So sex sells. We all know that. If I wanted to use sex to sell, my wife would be a perfect object. I think my wife, her sexiness could sell anything I'd want to sell. That's my take. Maybe you think differently. That's my take. I could use her for that. And sometimes I do in very subtle ways. So, like I said, sexual stimulation and gratification, however, using your hands, your fingers, your mouth, your tongue, your sexual organs, toys, whatever it may be, those are things that can be bought and sold. And whether sex should be for sale is another question entirely, but love itself can't be sold. You know what? I got a big problem with, now maybe you'll disagree with me on this. I have a big problem with prostitution being illegal. Now, maybe from a moral point of view, I would take a totally different stance. From a practical point of view, should prostitution be legalized and, in a sense, regulated? What about the poor people who can't, for the life of them, find a partner in life, let alone a sexual partner? Should they be allowed to pay for it if somebody's willing to offer it for money? So I think, like marijuana and other drugs, prostitution in the like sense should be something that's legalized. It shouldn't be something that's criminalized. If somebody wants to pay somebody to have sex, that should be their right to do that and pursue it. If somebody wants to say, I'll give you sex for money, they should be allowed to do that. There's sometimes I have fun with Rainy, and you know, we'll have our little encounter, and I'll leave $100 bill on the nightstand. There you go, baby. Thanks. You know, there are sometimes Rainy says, "Yeah, if you give me $200 for that thing, I'll have sex with you right now." I'm like, "Take my money." So, that has happened in our relationship. That is not a going concern, by the way, folks. So don't worry about that. Field guy says he's too cheap for sex. He'll just take the sample. Well, good luck. Good luck with that. There's nothing better than intimacy of sexual relations with the person that you love. And being all done and spent and sweaty and smoke your cigarette or get your drink, whatever you're going to do, bathe each other off afterwards, whatever your thing is, to then lay there for the rest of the night, maybe all wrapped up in each other, watching a movie or doing whatever you want to do next. Talking. That's great stuff. It's hard to sample that. I think the type of problems that comes along with the sex industry is where the bad comes in. Yeah, I think you're right. So Amsterdam, you can window shop, exactly. You can go down the street and go, I like that. Maybe if they start carrying at Costco for field guy, yeah, Steph, there it is. It's an industry. Yeah, I get that. And it has its bad, dark sides. I agree. Everything does. Everything that is a commodity, everything that's sellable and legally sellable and purchasable can come with the downsides of its industry. Problem with sex is that it relates to so much interpersonal stuff in human beings. And you go buy corn at a corn stand on the corner in the summer. There's not a lot of emotion involved in that. Sex is, of course, very different. I still think there is a way it should be legalized. It shouldn't be a criminal offense for somebody to say, I really could use some sexual intimacy of a sexual nature, and I don't have anybody to do that with. I'm going to go buy it. There it is. Masturbation only goes so far. I'll tell you that. I said the M word. Almost everybody does it. Nobody should deny it. It exists. It's there. It's part of human nature. But that doesn't do much for you for intimacy. One can buy loyalty. You can buy companionship. You can buy attention. Perhaps even compassion. But you can't buy love. An orgasm can be bought. I'm telling you that. It can be bought. I've never bought one, unless you consider, you know, 12 years of being married to a woman who destroyed my life to be. Nah. I'm looking for the easy, fun way to say that. You can say, I sure pay an awful lot to have sex with the same person. But that's different. We're being flippant about that. But an orgasm can be bought, but love can't. It comes or not by grace of its own will, and its own timing, and it's subject to nobody's planning. I once told several times I've told people in their appropriate contexts. People who are, I don't know if I love this person anymore, blah blah blah. I don't love my wife anymore. I said, you know what? Or I've had people ask me, I don't know if he or she loves me anymore, or even loves me. They don't act like they love me. And I said, you know what? When you love somebody, you know it. And I've said, it'd take a team of wild horses to pull you away from it. And even that team of wild horses might not be able to do it. Me in my early days with Raini, there were lots of distractions and lots of things I tried to do to avoid love, to avoid being in that relationship. But you know what won out? The fact that love cannot be bought. Love is natural. Love has its own mind, its own time, and its own place. And if there's one thing in the 15 years I've been together with Raini, 16 years that I've known her, is that I love this woman with every fiber of my being. And there's nothing. Sometimes I express that in fun, in sexual banter, in things like that to the public, but this is the person I could not live without. Now, does that mean, God forbid, hypothetically, my wife ever passed away, like some of us has had spouses? Does that mean I would die or commit suicide? No. Life would go on. What I mean by that, I'm using that term lightly. I couldn't live without this person. I wouldn't want to. I wouldn't think of anything else. Do you know? I don't think I've ever told this story. Maybe I did. 2 years ago, when I was working away from home, and I was in Wyoming for about a month, and then I went on to Utah for about 3 more months. And when I was in Wyoming, there was one night I had a dream, and I think I told this. And I had a dream that Rainy and my kids were all killed in a car accident. It was a dream. It's a nightmare. And in the dream, it didn't end until I didn't see the accident happen. I was informed of it, and I had to go identify the bodies in my dream. And there I am in the morgue, and they pull back the sheets, and there's my dead wife, my dead children. And I dropped to my knees in the dream, and the emotion overtook me. I woke up bawling, and it was 2 a.m, and I called Rainy on the phone right away. And I remember I couldn't even talk at first. And Rainy answered. She said, "Hello, hello." I said, "Wait." I said, "Wait," because I couldn't get words out. And it's funny how even reciting a dream like that from 2 years ago can have that same effect. 2.5 years ago almost. And not that the half a year makes any difference. But Rainey said, I finally was able to croak out what the dream was about. And she said, "We're here." She said, "We're alive." And she said, "I'll stay here on the phone as long as you need me." And she said, "I'm here. I'm just on the phone. You don't even have to talk." And she said, "I'll stay on the phone all night with you if you need me to." So all that to say that, just more illustrating what we have when we love somebody. There's nothing that can tear you away. And that bad dream probably still so active in my mind when I talk about it or bring it up because it struck a chord about how much I loved my wife and my kids too. So love can't be turned on like it's a reward. It can't be turned off as a punishment. Somebody says, "I'm not going to love you anymore," and they're punishing you. Chances are that person doesn't really love you if they are able to do that. Love can't be turned off as a punishment. And only something else pretending to be love can be used as a lure, as a hook for bait and switch, for imitated, insulated. But the real deal can never be delivered if it doesn't spring freely from the heart. The heart, which doesn't really exist. It's not the heart. It's something, it's the mind. It's the innermost self. This doesn't mean that love allows destruction and abusive behaviors to go on unchecked. Love speaks out for justice. It protests when harm is being done. Love points out the consequences of hurting oneself or others. Love does that. Love allows room for anger, for grief, for pain to be expressed and released. But love doesn't threaten to withhold itself if it doesn't get what it wants. If I don't get what I want from you. That's that manipulation we were talking about the other day. Love doesn't say directly or indirectly, if you're a bad boy, mommy won't love you anymore. If you're a bad man, mommy won't give you love anymore. Or vice versa. If you're a bad woman, daddy won't give you love anymore. Or your man won't give you, you know what I mean. Not talking about pedophilia here. Love doesn't say, daddy's little girl doesn't do that. Or daddy's big girl doesn't do that. However you want to look at that. Love doesn't say, if you want to be loved, you have to be nice. Or you have to do what I want. Or never love anyone else. Or promise you'll never leave me. Love doesn't say those things. Love cares what becomes of you. Because love knows that we're all interconnected. Love is inherently compassionate and empathetic. Guys, I'm addressing guys because guys have a tougher time with this. If you do not have empathy or compassion for your life, your wife or your partner, you probably aren't. I can't say you don't love that person, but you're expressing it wrongly. Love comes with compassion and empathy for the other person. Just because you don't know how to deal with those things, how to express empathy or compassion, or are uncomfortable with it, or whatever your past was, doesn't mean you get away by it with not expressing those things to your wife. Guys, women, the same thing, the other way around. And so, real love is connected. It's inherently compassionate and empathetic. Love knows the other is also one's self. This is the true nature of love, and love itself can't be manipulated or restrained. Love honors the sovereignty of each soul. Love has its own law. So, there you go. What are you going to do with that? You know what else I had pulled up? It's already 10, 11:15, so I'm going to wrap this up pretty soon. I was going to talk about when sex is spiritual. When is it the right thing? When do you know that it's raised to that different level? I was going to talk about something we have not talked about on this show before, and I may hit this tomorrow night and this week. There's a new word out there in psychology called alonely. We all know what lonely is, but what's alonely? It's a new term for the mirror image of loneliness. What comes with love? Love can come with loneliness. Sometimes loneliness comes when you've lost that person. Sometimes it's while you're still with a person. Can you be lonely in a relationship? Yeah, hell yeah. Does it mean the other person's doing something wrong? Not necessarily. Might be other factors. Then I've got 7 types of loneliness and why they matter, and why loneliness matters. So this week, we're going to look at a loneliness, and 7 types of loneliness. So, can you be lonely within a relationship? Yeah, that can happen. And sometimes it has nothing to do with the other person or the way you feel about them or other factors. Sometimes it has everything to do with the other person and how they treat you. So, there you go, folks. That's what we got for today. That was Sunday. I wish Raini could have been here. Hopefully, by the end of this next week, or this week we're in now, this being the first day of the week, hopefully I'll have figured out the tech stuff and gotten us a little ahead, and I'll probably get the Zoom set up so I can have a Zoom guest in here, being Rainy, number one. It's my first one. Also, Ruben Fasthorst. I was going to tell you he is. There's a link he sent me, and let me see if I can get it for you here. I missed a call from him last night. Let's see. Where's Ruben? Hold on. There's a link, and I'm going to put it in here. It's a Zoom link where you can go, or a place where you can go to see if I can get this keyboard to work for me, right? Let's see. Hang on. Look up Ruben. He is doing one of his language shows today. If you want to join him. You know what? Now that I think about it, it might be over already. Starts at no, it started 20 minutes ago. And you can go to this link. Let me copy it for you here. Join the Zoom meeting. Here it is. I'm going to copy the link address. I'm going to paste it in our chat window here. I'm going to go join Ruben for his language classes. Oh, that's a big link. Might not even fit. It doesn't. Okay. I don't know how to put that in there. Because it doesn't fit. Let's see. Let's see if this one works. Oops. It's not what I meant to do. Be patient with me, folks. I copy this link. Let's see if I can paste this one into our chat room. That's too long too. It doesn't work. So go over to Ruben Fasthorst's Facebook page. You can find him if you want to join his chat room. It's on a Zoom chat. The link is way too long, so I can't paste it in here. But there you go, folks. Beth, thank you. Thanks for all the laughs and tears, she says. Love to everyone. Same to you, Beth. Thanks for being here. Ruben wanted to come on live today. He did. And I said, there's just no good way to do it. I could bring them on my phone and hold it up to the camera. We did that once before, and it's so hard to do. And so I told Ruben early this morning. I said we'll have to wait for a week when we can do this properly and make it work right with the tech. Maybe even by next week or later this week, we'll have that in place. So he is on Facebook. Find Ruben Fast Horse, and you'll be able to find him. So there you go. And thanks for that link, Matt Finn. We'll go take a look at it. And everybody who was here today, thank you for being here. I appreciate it. I appreciate your time, that you would give me your time. And if you're not a member of this channel, you can click the join button down below. Comes with 3 ways to be a member. I'd appreciate that if you want to do that. The most inexpensive is the $2 membership per month. Sets you up on an automatic deposit or withdrawal, $2 a month. Gets you no perks. It just lets everybody know you want to be part of the group. You want to be part of it, and you're going to throw in your $2 a month, which is what, roughly 7 cents a day, something like that, for this show. So there you go. Rock and Rhonda, thank you. You are amazing. I haven't said that enough, and I mean that. I like your stuff, and so you're an amazing woman. So it's very cool what you do, the things you do. Yeah, you can see my website, scottallenroberts.com. All my links to everything I do are over there. And so thank you for being here Monday through Friday, 10 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Mountain, 7 p.m. Left Coast time is the Intrepid radio program. And we will probably be going live most of this week again. When I start doing the pre-records is when I have my equipment set up, my program set up to do it right. And so we're going live for now until I get set up in this studio to make it work properly. And all the pre-recorded is, just to remind you, it's only a couple hours in advance usually that I record those. Sometimes in the early morning hours, but it's so I can record the audio version and the video version on 2 different programs at the same time. And that's why I pre-record, and I can also do some cooler edits with it. So there we go. Steph, you're welcome. Thank you. Roger, have a great day. Matt, have a great day. Doug, have a great day. Field Guy, have a great day. And you guys, we'll see you all this week. You have a fun rest of your Sunday. See you later. Stay warm. It's cold down here. It's supposed to be warm.